Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Sorry for the delay, but there was in between this morning's show and this afternoon's show, Substack reconfigured their live. And in the process of doing that, I have already found 3 or 4 bugs that made it difficult to get online with the entire system here. So sorry about that, but welcome aboard, AVQ, in from Brooklyn, New York. And of course, there's Patrick from Houston, Texas. We have Michael Radin. I called him out already. We've got Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Gene Deigel from Alvin, Texas. Welcome here, Gene. I haven't seen you in a few days. Eric from Kingwood, Atascocita. Barbara Fetante Austin. How you doing, Barbara? Phil Wildred Batiste, Patricia Burke, Maureen Greenwald, David Silver, Kimmy Wynn. Thank you guys for all being here. We're going to have a great show for you today. In above and beyond having those issues in the beginning, I just got through processing 2 videos that I think you guys are going to like. But we'll see. We'll get it going sometime. We'll get it going. Anyway, folks, how's everybody doing? We've got Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Lisa. How you doing? Beautiful. Patrick, I think I called you out. Egberto, we've got a short. Michael is going to start us off with the shorts. He doesn't do the link necessarily often anymore. So let's see what the short is all about. He always brings us something ingenious. Oh, come on. Hold on right there. Hold on. Let's go ahead and get the short going. And then we'll go ahead and continue with the program. But I kind of like that interaction between us. Let's go. Let's do it.
The amount of money that Starbucks made in revenue just last year. $95.8 million. That's the compensation package that Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol earned for 4 months of work last year. 6,666. That is how much times larger Niccol's pay was than the average Starbucks barista's salary. 400. That is how many labor law violations the NLRB has found that Starbucks has committed.
Hundreds of shops have voted to join unions. 12,000 workers have voted to join unions.
Who got the power?
We got the power. They are sick and tired of corporate greed and sick and tired of union busting.
Starbucks is one of the biggest labor law violators in modern history. So they have over 400 labor law violations and over 650 unresolved unfair labor practice charges. These are things like unlawful firings.
Working in like hazardous conditions, not having like adequate AC or heating.
What's disgusting?
Union busting!
What's outrageous?
Starbucks raging!
Starbucks held a managers conference in Las Vegas. It cost $80 million to put this on. Bruno Mars headlined, Janelle Monáe performed, Keke Palmer. We see them pour money into these big events and into their CEO, giving him a private jet. It really shows you where the priorities lie.
We are living in an economy where the people on top have never, ever had it so good. And while the CEOs make unbelievable salaries, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck.
It would cost them 1 day of sales in order to meet the wage demand.
our contract would be the first fast food union contract in the United States. Fast food workers deserve protections just like everyone else. And I think that every worker will win when we win.
Workers' rights are everyone's rights.
These are workers who are simply being asked to be treated with the respect that they deserve.
Do not cross the picket line. Don't cross the picket line until we are done striking, please.
We are standing with Starbucks workers, and we're going to create an economy that works for all.
Union busting!
That's outrageous!
Starbucks wages! Contract stalling! Union busting!
All right, let me just say this, folks, because this requires a response. Thank you very much for this, Michael. That the CEO for 4 months, and for 4 months being there, made $95 million, right? We have so many of you out here, not many, I should say, some in one of our chats that are always there defending these wealthy folks, these rich folks. I want you to tell me, what did that CEO do to deserve $95 million when there are baristas out there on food stamps that are the ones where he is getting his money from? Absent that barista, that CEO cannot make $95 million, nor has that CEO earned $95 million. It is the concept of capitalism. Let me tell you something, guys. I remember when Starbucks was a seemingly, and in fact, that's where I wrote 3 of my books. 3 of my books were written going to Starbucks daily and sitting down there and buying expensive coffee under the pretext that the reason I'm willing to pay that kind of money for coffee is because they treated their employees well, because their employees had health care, school, all that, till I spoke to a few of them that came and told me the truth, the real story about the company as it migrated. Look, but like we always said, right? What occurred at Starbucks from being a benevolent company to one that was a dog-eat-dog company was by design. If you are in the capitalist domain, that's by design. Let's explain. If it is expected that the shareholder value grows at between 7% or more, while those employee wages will not grow that fast, if as well they are going to give these CEOs premiums for efficiency, what that implies is somebody has to pay for those excesses, and that's the employees. You take from the least and you give it to the few. You take from the most and you give it to the few. When you have the economic system for the top 1% or the top 10% growing at 7% and the rest of the economy growing at 2% for everybody else, of course you constantly have to take away from the poor, from the middle class. That's the only way the math works. And for those who ineptly continue to support these guys, for those who ineptly continue to support that process, it is as if when it came to math, many of you supporters of the right, many of you supporters of a capitalist system have gotten a mental lobotomy relative to math. Again, if the CEO constantly makes those kinds of monies, $95 million in a year, if the shareholders are expecting a dividend in excess of 2%, if the appreciation of that stock continues to go up, there is no possibility that you're not taking it from the masses. And who are the masses? The employees. This is not magic, folks. This is by design. I repeat, that is the inherent design of the capitalist system. You know, I remember at my first stint of school in the United States was a little college in a town called Brenham, Texas, Blinn College. where I took economics 101. And I always thought when that professor told me, okay, if we can build a lot of widgets, and people keep buying the widgets and they're buying the widgets and they buy, the prices go up no matter what, and the profit, I couldn't get it. But I just lived it. This piece that Mike Rudnin just brought to us. Any thinking person, anybody who is thinking, should see that piece and immediately explode, because this was for Starbucks. But if you are a secretary working at a building in downtown Houston, if you're a secretary working at a building in Johnstown, Ohio, if you're a secretary, if you are a garbage man picking up these garbages downtown Houston, and you realize that your services, they cannot live without your services, yet they're making 6,666 times what you make, or even 200 times what you make, and that they do not have the capabilities of providing many of the services that you do. An engineer may make $120,000 and the CEO make $10 million. The company can change the CEO without that company changing in flavor. You get rid of that main engineer, you can't function. I remember learning, what is capitalism? The efficient allocation of resources. I'm like, what? Does capitalism, is the medical field, are the resources allocated efficiently? I'm not even talking about the government sector. I'm talking about the private sector. In the government sector, the resources are in fact affected, allocated efficiently, because after all, the resources to give you Social Security, the resources to give you Medicare is 3%. That's the overhead, 3%. But in the capitalist market, the private market, giving you health care costs more than 20%. We were always lied to. Capitalism equals the efficient allocation of resources. False. They just keep hammering that into our heads, and we believe it. We believe that it brought prosperity to many. It brought prosperity to a lot of Americans. At what price? To the rest of the world? People. There is something called free enterprise with a strong social safety net. That is what we should be fighting for. That is what we should be fighting for. And those that are protecting this evil system that harms. I mean, again, like I said, mathematical lobotomy of the brain. Because it's simple math. The system is by design. You can't have the top growing at 7% and the vast majority at the bottom growing at 2%. That's a mathematical impossibility. A mathematical impossibility. Thank you, Rudnin, for that great piece that kind of got my blood pressure elevated. But when I see people being harmed, that's what happens. And that's what has me doing. Oh, thank you very much, Lisa Blair. You like the shirt? I think either my daughter or my wife got that for me. I think they wanted to play fun. They had fun with me. They had fun with me and the shirt. I got you, girl. But yeah, folks. So let's be clear here. Let's see what's the second video Michael has. But look, people, all I ask of you to do, usa la mente, por favor. Piensa, por favor. Use your mind, please. Think, please. And don't let those who choose to have a mental lobotomy have you thinking otherwise. Please don't. Please don't. Disregard those who refuse to think. And just keep moving forward. Just keep encouraging others. Just keep enlightening others. Let's go to Michael's second video. If I can get to it, I think I can. I think I can. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Problematic Peter. Okay, this must be Hegseth. Let's go ahead and do this, and then we'll move on.
Embarrassments are caking up around the throat of the Trump administration. The keg's breath embarrassments are caking up around the throat of the Trump administration, thicker and faster than the orange sludge crusting up around the edge of Donald Trump's damp neck things. I can't say the word, I'm sorry. To the point where it's honestly impossible to keep them all straight. So let's do a quick test. Burn through the top 5 highlight reel of weekend weatherman whoopsies and keep track of which ones you remember, just so Trump knows we're keeping score in this Squid Game for secretaries. So number 5, running veterans for freedom into the ground. Taking a nearly $10 million budget and turning it into $500,000 in debt in just 2 years. Doing so much damage so fast they had to merge with another nonprofit and then demote him. Number 4, denying a full retirement to 12 members of the Air Force after forcing them out of the military all because they're trans. Because it's not enough to fire people for how they were born. For people like Hegseth, you also have to make sure you ruin their career and their retirement. Number 3, firing artillery shells over the busiest interstate in California, which resulted in one shell detonating unexpectedly and raining down shrapnel on what would have been a very busy road. Gavin Newsom hadn't been smart enough to close it preemptively. I always say never trust a heavily armed alcoholic. Number 2, adding a reporter and a bunch of family members to a completely unsecured signal chat, where he shared military plans half an hour before they were carried out, leading the Pentagon's Inspector General to determine that he violated regulation, while recklessly exposing members of the military to risk, all because he wanted to thump his chest, or maybe he just couldn't figure out which was the right app icon, which, to be fair, is pretty difficult when there's 2 of every icon floating around. And of course, number 1, the double tap order that he said he didn't order, after saying he watched the whole thing before saying he didn't watch the whole thing because he was too busy, but actually somebody else issued the order, but he issued the order. But it was just really difficult because of the fog of war, even though we're not at war, and there was no fog. Now, I know that it's Trump who's afraid to go to hell, but it was actually Hegseth's behavior across this whole thing that earned him an outright condemnation from the Pope. Now, let's not forget the honorable mentions. Like when Hegseth accidentally deleted pictures of the Enola Gay from military websites because it's called the Enola Gay, getting his own mom to side against him in a divorce, and getting fired for Concerned Veterans for America for drinking and toxic behavior. Concerned indeed. How many of these did you remember? Let me know in the comments.
Oh, we remembered a lot of those. Pete Hegseth is just your basic F up. That's what he is. And you know, they talk about DEI. What is it? DEI, equity and inclusion, diversity, equity and inclusion. We should have used DEI to hire for these secretaries, because had he been anybody else, he could have never qualified for that job. With all that is in his closet, how could somebody like that qualify to be the Secretary of Defense? The Secretary of Defense? Madre mía, por favor. ¿Cómo puede ser eso? Madre mía, por favor. Imagínate eso. Think about that. Okay. Harry Denson says, good afternoon, all Politics and Right listeners in the state of Texas and around the world. Let us all engage with each other. Thank you, my brother. Egberto, why do you let right-wing persons push you to conservative talking points and video clips that you would never have used in years past? Which one are we talking about, E2247? Which video clip did I use? I'm curious because I want to, I judge myself, right? So I want to know where you thought I went wrong on what video. Please let me know that, and we'll take it from there. But I want to know. So, I have followed and supported you for on 21 years since 2004, Daily Costs and Beyond. You have drifted right in the past year. No, E2247, no. Why would you say that? Why do you not speak of today's war on Palestine Day 790 as you used to do? Now, I'll give you that there's so much happening right here in the United States that sometimes I screw up on not talking about Palestine as I should. So I do take that assault. I do take that, not assault, I shouldn't call it assault. That's constructive criticism. I do accept that, but I always name you as one who always keep me up to speed, making sure that I talk about the genocide in Palestine. So I give, granted. Welcome aboard Agolf Twitler. Egberto Direct Court OIG report. The Secretary actions created a risk to the operational security that could have resulted in failed U.S. mission objectives and potential harm to U.S. pilots. Put this on screen. Inspector General. Okay, I'll put it on screen. Especially since you think I'm turning right. E2247, how dare you? Did I get it there? Oops, it went to the wrong screen. Let me get it on the right screen. E2247 wants this on the screen. And since you guys are my peeps, it says the secretary sent information identifying the quantity and strike times of manned U.S. aircraft over hostile territory over an approved unsecure network approximately 2 to 4 hours before the execution of those strikes, which would have given people enough time to mount or counterattack. Although the secretary wrote in his July 25 statement to the DoD OIG that there were no details that would endanger our troops or this mission, if this information had fallen into the hands of the U.S. adversaries, Houthi forces might have been able to counter U.S. forces or reposition personnel and assets to avoid planned strike. Even though these events did not ultimately occur, the Secretary's actions create a risk to operational security that could have resulted in failed U.S. missions objective and potential harm. Gotcha. All right. What else have we got here? So I got that on the screen. Let's see what else we got. Egberto, direct quote from DoD. I got that. What's the other one? E2247. Okay, I think I got the one that you wanted me to put on the screen. All right. Okay, what else have we got here? It seems like today is Critique Egberto's Day from the left. All right, let's continue. Egberto, what do the historical interactions of war with financial innovation, economic incentives, and technological change mean for the world today? That's a question. What do the historical interaction of war with financial innovation? I mean, we can tie that into the exploitation of. I mean, we could actually. I tell you what, I'll just call a country, Venezuela. That's it. But then we could also say the intent for Gaza. Answer right there. All right, let's continue. Okay. Michael says Eric is trolling while bootlicking. No, which Eric are we talking about? Oh, Eric. Eric always trolls. I don't read Eric's stuff. Tell us about how runaway military spending drives U.S. into foreign wars and bankrupts persons in the U.S. homes. The $1 Trillion War Machine with William Hartung and Ben Freeman. Thank you for that. Folks, you can go ahead and read that. But we talk about that all the time, including on our 6 o'clock show, E2247, which I think you've gone to a few times. All right, let's continue here. Let's continue scrolling down to see what else people are saying. Let's see. I love Rich. He also on Substack. Thank you, Laura, for that. I'm scrolling Egberto. Then you should want free enterprise healthcare. No, you can't have free. Let's teach Mike Cisak something about healthcare, people. Let's do this, right? A lot of people want to say, let's put competition into healthcare, right? If you get into a car accident right now and you're in the middle of nowhere and there are 3 helicopter companies in Houston that would fly into Timbuktu to pick you up, should you be responsible for calling helicopter number 1? What's your price? Helicopter number 2, what's your price? Helicopter number 3, what's your choice? Okay. And since I am now hurt, how much will I pay for that helicopter? Not what necessarily it costs for gas and labor, but whatever the market will bear. That's capitalism. Whatever or I should say, that's capitalism with free enterprise, right? Whatever the market will bear. So in healthcare, it is asinine to have capitalism. It is inhumane, because at the time that you are supposed to get health care, it's not the time for you to be negotiating what hospital has a better price. That makes no sense. In fact, why should you be thinking about price and health care? It's an evil concept. It's an immoral concept. It's a very immoral concept. We can talk. The healthcare should be done by we, the people. Anything else is immoral. And America does have the most immoral healthcare system, bar none. The fact that you can lose it, the fact that I can be having a very nice day today, and something happens, I fall down the stairs and puncture one of my organs, and that changes my entire financial situation for my entire life going forward. Do you see how asinine it is to say, let's put healthcare into the private sector? It is silly because that's how a lot of people's lives have changed forever. That a fall can change your life forever. That a polyp can change your life forever. Anybody who likes that concept, is inhumane and does not understand what it is to be human. You cannot be human and like a system like that. Healthcare belongs in the public domain. Healthcare belongs in the public domain. That is not up for debate. Capitalism, now a system that allows those with a pile of money to manipulate those without increase their pile of money with no benefit to society. Absolutely right. Again, capitalism don't create a damn thing. Those people that are making the most money sitting down in an office trading. Let's give an example, right? You may have a hospital. This is how sick it is. You may have a hospital. Hospital number 1 in rural area number 1. Hospital number 2 in an adjacent rural area. Hospital number 3 in an adjacent rural area. Somebody with a piece of paper doesn't know anything about these communities. Go through the numbers on these 3 hospitals and say, you know what? If we simply go ahead and buy this hospital, borrow the money on the assets of this hospital, and then force this hospital to reduce costs for everything to pay for these loans that have been applied to this hospital, and eventually this hospital goes under, that person who created that whole deal walks away with millions as the hospital dies. These are guys that look at hospitals no different than a factory, no different. All they do is they play with the paper behind these things and move it around. And they're human beings working at the hospital. They're human beings working at these factories. And they just pick up a piece of paper and say, hey, this company is worth this, employees X amount. If we can go ahead and buy this company, take out loans on the assets of these companies, leverage this, and after we leverage this, the company has to then reduce its costs to pay for the leverage. And if they can't, well, they go under. But by then, the capitalist has walked away with their money. Do you really understand how the biggest problem here is people just don't understand how it works. They just don't understand how it works. And too many are scared. I come out straight up and said it's an evil system. How many politicians will just come out and say that? They won't, right? Because, you are a communist. And they'll come out and tell you that. They don't want. They are scared. But my goal is to get out of that bubble. My goal is to have people speaking freely. Have people speaking freely, not fearful of saying, this is an evil system. Because when we start saying it, those people who, if enough of us say it, as those people come to defend it, then you can expose them. When they try to defend, when they try to say no capitalism and healthcare, you have the examples to show people. When they try to tell you about the person, the stockbroker, you have the example to show them the evilness of that. You can show them how that relates directly to people. That is what you got to do. And that is what we have to do. That is what we have to do. Let's see, if we have corn and meat, and if we know of a family with none, then we divide with them. If we have more blankets than sufficient and others have not enough, then we must give them what they want. You know what is so curious about that old E227? That's not how capitalism works. If you have excess somewhere, right? Guess what you do? You throw it away. And the reason you throw it away is because you don't want to mess with the price. Because if you don't throw it away, and some people wait for the end of the day for when all those things could be used, the prices will drop because some more and more people will do that. You know, there are companies, grocery stores and the works. They have no interest necessarily in sending a lot of their stuff to the food bank. It is more efficient for them to throw it away because they want to keep their price points. And they figure if they give away too much, what happens is a lot of people would start to get the giveaways, bring less traffic to the store, drop the prices. I mean, this is a very interesting system, people. Until we put some humanity into this stuff, it's a very interesting system. All right, let's see what else we got. Egberto, one for E2247. What is this one about? Okay, yeah, let's go ahead. It doesn't have any music, I hope, because I'm already on touchy ground. Let's go ahead and do this for E2247.
She's 4 years old, and the Israeli military just killed her and her entire family. She's 4 years old, and the Israeli military just killed her and her.
Oh, that's a repeat. Let me tell you something about that, guys. Because yesterday, I didn't see the actual story, but I heard later historian says $4.59 for a loaf of bread in Massachusetts. Wow. Thank you for that, lady historian. Let me tell you. It really sort of upset me for those people that are suddenly telling you, all of you here, that your eyes are not seeing what they're seeing, right? Hillary Clinton a few days ago said she's sort of upset at TikTok because the reason many people are really giving Israel a hard time for the genocide. She didn't say genocide, of course. For the genocide in Gaza is because of TikTok. TikTok reframed the minds of these people who think Israel is effecting a genocide. No. You just have to look at satellite pictures. Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa. You know, remember, Israel would like you to believe that they are under attack from Palestine. We have to be doing these things to Palestine because we're under attack. And you see skyscrapers and buildings and cars and walls and all these good things in Israel proper. Not buildings blown to smithereens or anything. The only thing that was blown to smithereens in a building was a cruise missile or a missile coming from Iran. But then you just look a few miles down towards the Mediterranean, north towards the Mediterranean, and you see miles upon miles of decimation, rubble, with people under the rubble and over hundreds of thousands of people. They don't say that, but hundreds of thousands of people displaced and dead. And what Hillary Clinton and others, even Van Jones, I'm so disappointed in Van Jones. I've been to conferences with Van Jones where I've spoken to Van Jones. It's a different person now, right? And they want you to believe that your eyes are not seeing the decimation in Gaza. Oh, that's not. They're just doing it because they're terrorists in that building, so we had to blow it up. No, this was ethnic cleansing. This was a genocide. This was a genocide. And this isn't nothing done by TikTok or Instagram or Telegram or WhatsApp. We all have eyes. And both Trump and Biden and all who have supported this are complicit. They're complicit. They're saying some people's lives are worth more than others. All right. So again, that is where we're at. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. I'm scrolling down to see if there's anything else that I need to say here. Bruce says Minnesota is doing work to level services to everyone regardless of income, but it opens a window to fraud on you're not careful. Yeah, look. There's always going to be fraud, Bruce. But the biggest, if you want to see fraud, look at Medicare Advantage. How many people are complaining about $149 billion worth of fraud every year in the Medicare Advantage from reputable companies, and we know what they're doing? How many people are complaining about fraud for the hundreds of billion dollars every year that the Defense Department spends with the private companies? When we talk about fraud, the kind of fraud that individual people do is so much less than the grand theft that occurs from the major corporations with a smile. Okay? I want you to think about that. What is the incentive for the leaders of Israel to stop the war? None. None. No incentive for them to stop the war as long as other countries are going to still deal with them. There's no incentive at all. None. So good, smart question. All right, I want to play one of the videos. I want you to see that the way Republicans have always thought about health. Actually, I think I put that in a piece. So let me just go ahead and play the piece right now, and then we'll take it on the other side. That Republicans really don't care that the big, bad, beautiful bill left out of it the extension of the subsidies to ensure that Americans can have health care. They never cared about that. They don't care if these people have insurance or not, whether they get health care or not, because singularly, this party is about maximizing profits for its friends at all costs. That's a neoliberal methodology. That is a Republican orthodoxy. I want you to listen to this. This came out of Michael Moore's Sicko. And it's interesting because you'll see the conversation that Richard Nixon had one day about denying health care, making it giving less health care. And the other day, by supporting the policy, he lies about it and says, oh, we are going to provide the best health care possible. I need you guys to listen to this in detail. The quality is not all that good, but listen in detail. What we see here in healthcare, in the Republicans not having a concept of a plan, not having any plan, is all the idea. Is you keep holding out. Well, I'll tell you what, listen to the clip and then we'll take it on the other side. So here's what we're talking about. What the Republicans are doing today. No, they're fighting among each other of whether we give you a savings account, all this kind of stuff. The basic thing is not investing anything to make healthcare good for Americans. And that if they're going to make healthcare somehow a little bit good for people, that somebody on the other end, on the capitalist end, must make a ton of money. Nixon said it, and the Republican orthodoxy is to continue to execute it. Even what Obama passed, which was an enhanced version of Romneycare from Massachusetts, the only way we could get that bill through was not what Obama absolutely wanted, was not what progressives wanted, but what the neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party held us hostage for. And that is to keep the private health insurance companies where they could continue to raise prices, even as we clamp down on what percentage of said prices could be profits, could be overhead. Look, if you want change, first of all, you have to learn the realities of who will give you change. And as you'll see in a subsequent video, even Gavin Newsom realizes that the people with policies that will help people are Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Serhan Mamdani, the ones that people tend to try to put the boogie person on. I want you to understand this. This is not an accident what we're going through right now. This is modus operandi. This is Powell memo. This is all these things that says, let's go ahead and indoctrinate you, fool you into voting against your own interests. And damn it if they're not doing a good job of it. And damn it if enough of us are not, too many of us are not biting. Folks, you have to look out for what's best for us. And we know it's not in the neoliberal realm. It's not in the Republican realm. It's in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party where things will occur on a positive side. Absolutely so. Now, the last video that I have here, I had to do a double take because, look, if Gavin Newsom is the choice for the Democratic Party, of course I'll vote for him. But I think we need somebody much more radical and progressive. And I believe it or not, I think there is a uniting of progressives, MAGA, and a few sensible lefties that could actually get that done. Because ultimately, MAGA is about to find out that they've been had. We don't need to have anybody as friends. What we need are allies. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. I want you to listen to Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom decided to tell an unfortunate, or I should say, an inconvenient truth. Even the rank and file not the rank and file Democrats, even the little bit left of center Democrats and the neoliberal Democrats, they are consistently trying to tell you that the ilk comprised of Bernie Sanders, Serhan Mamdani, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and all these progressive folks, that somehow what they want is apples, pie in the sky, something that's unattainable. But Americans can't buy it anymore. After all, you take a look at the movement of our cash, the movement of our capital away from us to the select few. Of course, something has got to change. And we are coming close to the breaking point with 20 million people who used to have insurance losing it all in the next year or two. When you start to have nothing to live for, what is there? Listen to what Gavin Newsom had to say, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Let's move to California Governor Gavin Newsom with you, Jim, who has some advice for Democrats. Listen to what he says.
We have to be more culturally normal. We have to be a little less judgmental. We have to be a party that understands the importance and power of the border substantively and politically. We have a party that I think needs to design and develop a compelling economic vision for the future where people feel included to reconcile the fact that if we don't democratize our economy, we're not going to save democracy. We have an economy that is broken for too many people. And I think that's foundationally and fundamentally what Trump understood. It's what people like AOC, Bernie, and Mamdani understand from a narrative perspective. But the policies that shape that, I think, will also shape the comeback for the Democratic Party.
You know, when Gavin Newsom articulated the names, Zorhan Mamdani, when he articulated the name AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when he articulated the name El Señor, my guy, Bernie Sanders, I had to do a double take because we know that under Gavin Newsom, when there is a veto-proof legislature in California, that they made Medicare for all practical purposes go up into smoke, or some form of Medicare for all go up into smokes. So that he is now saying, oh, it seems like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zorhan Mamdani is what we have to be concerned about, that affordability crisis. These guys have been preaching this stuff for decades. Bernie Sanders for over 50 years of what really needs to be done in this system. And you know what? Many of us know what needs to be done. But when the masses figure it out, and I tell you what, I'm starting to see the masses figuring out that they need to take back that which was legally stolen from them. Notice I said legally stolen. The whole economic paradigm must change, biased towards we the people. Let's get busy. And that's the bottom line. The whole economic power shift must occur. You know, I wrote about this stuff. I wrote a book called, what was that one called? How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. And that's what I mean. You know, it's about true democracy, true freedom. Right now, we have neither. We can still get a few things done democratically, but we have neither. It is imperative that we actually start standing up for ourselves. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left. I'll take some calls, 281-823-7747. Again, that number. Let's see if what's her name? Le Jojo is going to put that inside of the chat. Give me a call, 281-823-7747. Let me go ahead and type it up. Call in. Hey, come on, Egberto. ¿Dónde está esta vaina? Let me go ahead and put that here. Call in number. Come on, down. What's wrong with you? Sometimes I feel, okay, call in number is, and that is 281, and that is 823-7747. Give us a call. Anybody want to call in right now? Give me a call. 5 minutes left in the program or so. Let's go ahead and see if anybody has any commentary that they'd like to bring up. Una vez más lo voy a repetir. One more time, I'm going to call it out. 281-823-7747. Another way of saying it is, llámame a el 281-823-7747. 7747. 281-823-7747. All right, Richard Brown, thank you for the kudos. See you later. Good show. Yep, we got about 3 more minutes to go. Anybody want to call in? Egberto, if no calls, got a video. You would do that to me. And I bet as soon as I play the video, somebody's going to call in. But let's go ahead and get your video up. Maybe that's the way to do it. Let's go ahead and do that now. And we'll play your video. Here we go. Para ver. Aquí está. There you go. And let's go ahead and get that video going.
In the last few years, China's become South America's biggest trade partner, usurping a role the US has fought to maintain for more than 200 years, and it's always been very protective of that role. All the way back in 1823, US President James Monroe issued the Monroe Doctrine, a warning to European powers to abandon their colonial pursuits in the Western Hemisphere. Then, in 1904, President Theodore Roosevelt amended that doctrine, giving the United States power to intervene militarily in Latin American countries. The Roosevelt corollary kick-started America's view of itself as world police, and over the next century began to flex its growing military power. In the 20th century alone, it sent its armed forces to Peru, Nicaragua, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala. It occupied parts of Haiti, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Panama, Colombia, and it helped overthrow governments in Argentina, Chile, El Salvador, Bolivia, Brazil. Honestly, it's easier to name a country that wasn't shaped by US intervention. Maybe Costa Rica. Whenever a country got too cozy with a rival, Team USA stepped in to protect its interests, which throughout the 20th century can be summed up in one word: oil. And sitting at the top of this region is a country with more proven oil reserves than anywhere else in the world: Venezuela. Back in the day, the two countries were pretty friendly, and US companies had unchallenged access to Venezuelan oil fields. But that all changed in 1999, when a revolutionary socialist government led by Hugo Chavez seized power. Fiercely anti-American, Chavez focused on building closer ties with Iran, Russia, and China, and keeping Venezuelan oil firmly under state control. Here's how he described US President George W. Bush in 2006 following his invasion of Iraq.
Para decírtelo en mi mal inglés, en mi bad English, you are a donkey, Mr. Danger. You are a donkey, Mr. Bush. Si algún día se te va a ocurrir la locura de invadir Venezuela, te espero en esta sabana, Mr. Danger. Come on here, Mr. Danger.
So yeah, not a fan. The root of this tension came from Chavez's belief that the US had tried everything they could to topple him, starting with an attempted coup in 2002 where he was detained for 48 hours, to an alleged assassination attempt in 2005, to his accusation that US aid was funding opposition parties. When Chavez died and his deputy, Nicolas Maduro, took over in 2013, the US placed heavy sanctions on Venezuela, labeling it as a threat to national security.
Yep, very good piece. Now you threw it in there with music, and I don't know. I'm going to see what YouTube does to that music. We'll see. Anyway, guys, we are at the end of the program right now. I want to urge all of my brethren to consider supporting Politics Done Right via Egberto Off the Record with our newsletter. And to do that is quite easy. Simply go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and support the program. We are short hundreds of paid subscriptions. We have over 20, I think we're at like 23,000 subscriptions, but very few paid subscribers, I think it's less than 1%. So please go ahead, and we need a lot of subscribers to keep this stuff going. So please go ahead and visit politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Consider supporting what we do. Take a look at all the work that we do. 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, articles, books, videos, podcasts, 2 radio shows a day to make sure that we can get our message out. Please become a paid subscriber. If you have the wherewithal, it's a coffee. I know many of you would say, Egberto, I see you on the streets. We'll have a coffee. Well, consider becoming a subscriber for a coffee. That is what it's, less than a coffee, actually. Less than a coffee to make sure that we can continue doing this. Anyway, got to get out of here. You know I love you all to death. That's why we do this. You can email me directly at info@politicsdoneright.com, info@politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.